The boy had merely sprayed his father twice with a water gun. But to his surprise, his father pulled out a gun. This instantly terrified the older sister. She quickly pushed her younger brother down behind cover. As they watched their father keep firing at them, the older sister finally realized that her father had been driving all day. The reason he had brought them to this deserted wasteland was to find an opportunity to get rid of them, to prevent their father's scheme from succeeding. The sister quickly dragged her brother backward, refusing to stop no matter how loudly their father shouted. They didn't stop until there was complete silence outside. Only then did the sister dare to peek out, and discovered that their father had already left, leaving behind only the burned-out car. Seeing this, the sister was instantly overcome with despair. She couldn't understand why their father had abandoned them here. So, in a desperate bid for survival, the sister told her brother not to move, while she ran off to search for supplies. By now, the older sister seemed to realize that the reason their father hadn't continued chasing them was to use the harsh conditions of the desert to let the two of them die of heat in this place. If they wanted to survive, they had to return to the city. Otherwise, they would either starve or die of thirst. But this desert was vast beyond measure. They walked from day into night without seeing a single soul. Having walked all day, they were already suffering terribly from thirst. What was even worse was that they had left in such a hurry that they hadn't brought enough water. Yet the younger brother was oblivious to any danger. He was fascinated by everything around him. The older sister, however, wore a look of deep worry. To conserve their strength, they had no choice but to rest for the night. The next morning, as soon as the sun rose, the siblings set out once more on their journey for survival. But since the older sister had lost her bearings, they didn't know which way to go. So, to scout the area, the sister led her brother up a mountain. Unexpectedly, she nearly fell off a cliff. After that scare, the sister had to be extra careful. Eventually, they made it to the summit without further incident. But the scene before them left them speechless. They were surrounded by endless barren mountains. Not a single skyscraper in sight, since they hadn't had a drop of water in over a day. Their top priority was to find a water source immediately. But despite the scorching heat, they walked for most of the day without finding a single drop. It was clear that if they kept going like this, the last of their body fluids would evaporate. So they simply sat down on the ground and refused to move. Just then, the older sister suddenly made a delightful discovery. There seemed to be a few drops of water left in a tin can. She quickly gave it to her younger brother to drink. Finally, she picked up the can and licked it herself. And from this small gesture, it was clear that the older sister deeply loved her younger brother. After a brief rest, they set out once more on their quest for water. But after being exposed to the scorching sun for so long, the younger brother soon found himself unable to walk again. He then slid down the hillside. Seeing her brother lying on the ground, refusing to move, the older sister hurriedly called out for him to get up. No matter how much she called, it was to no avail. The older sister had no choice but to carry her brother on her back. They walked on like this for an unknown amount of time. They were surprised to discover a fruit tree ahead. At first, the sister thought it was a mirage. But when her brother also saw the tree, she realized it was real. Even luckier, there was a small puddle nearby. Without a word, the brother began to drink his fill, then picked up a fruit and popped it into his mouth. It wasn't until she saw birds eating the same wild fruit the sister realized the fruit wasn't poisonous, so she let her brother eat it without worry. And just like that, they had a hearty meal. After eating and drinking their fill, they even took a nice bath. Finally, they lay down under the tree and fell into a deep sleep. But when they woke up the next day, the scene before them left the sister heartbroken, because in just one night, all the water in the puddle had seeped into the ground, and even the wild fruit had been eaten clean by the birds. What was even worse was that they had forgotten to store the water the day before. Seeing this, the older sister was at a loss. She could only hope that the water would seep out again. Then she lay down on the ground and fell into a weary sleep. But when they woke up the next time, the water in the puddle still hadn't seeped out. Fortunately, however, a wild man appeared not far away, and he, too, spotted the brother and sister lying under the tree.